This is a recording for course csc105. My name is Ahmed Adel. These are the names of my team members, Adham Muhammad, Ahmed Amr, and Karim Khalid. And today we'll be talking about our project, Suel Goma, which is basically an eBay-inspired system. As for the contents of this document, we'll be talking about an overview of what this document hopes to achieve, some definitions that we'll be using. As for the general description, we'll be talking about the product's perspective, which is basically what the user sees when he opens the application, and that's the functionality, and also the perspective is what we describe and how the program was built. For the libraries that we'll be using, that's for the technicality part. We've got the functions. Also, these might be interchangeable on the range of the course. As for the variables part, this part basically goes hand in hand with the user interaction part, because we've divided the application into three segments: the sign up, the products, and the transaction. We might also add a sub-segment for the sign up part where the user tries to log in later. As for the document's purpose, this document basically hopes to analyze the basic needs and requirements to build an e-commerce Windows application. As for the purpose of this product basically focuses solely on MIU students and doctors, so that's what we'll be specializing in. And we just want an easy way of communication to connect buyers with sellers generally. For the abbreviations and definitions that we'll be using GUI, the graphical user interface, and MFC, Microsoft Foundation class. So Microsoft in Foundation class is basically a tool from Microsoft that helps us build Windows application. So that's what we'll be using. We'll be using also C++ language to build that application using MFC in order to build a graphical user interface that the user can use hopefully happily. For the functions of the product, the product has also only one view, and that's the buyers and sellers view. The user can buy and sell at the same time. He has selling options, and whatever happens is that the user enters his sign up information. He logs in. He can upload any product that he wants, and he can browse through the variety of categories in which we'll be talking about right now. As for the libraries that we'll be using the IOStream library, which we can use to input information and output information. It will be basically a technical library for the programming. As for the fstream, ifstream, and offstream libraries, these libraries will be used to read and write files. The cscd-lib library and the ctime library basically go hand in hand because we want to help. As for the cscd-lib library, we'll be using it to generate random numbers, and for the ctime, we want these random numbers to change on the course of time. The string library will be using lots of strings, especially with the sign-up information. And also we might need the cmath library just for any random math function. As for the functions that we'll be using or innovating, is a function called prices, in which we'll be using to add prices together whenever the user tries to add another product to his virtual cart, for example. As for the transaction part, it will have a date, a place that both users will agree upon, maybe on the phone. Both of these users will enter this current information, and once the transaction is done, the users will receive a transaction complete. As for the review, this function asks both users, the buyer and the seller, to write a review in each other, just so that everyone knows what experience that they'll be dealing with whenever they get to buy a particular product or sell a particular product to this certain customer or user. As for the variables part, we'll be splitting it up into three categories. The first one or segments. The first one is the used for the sign up, and this will include just some general information about the user, like the name of the user, the university ID, the email, the mobile, maybe an alternative mobile like his father's mobile or something, his gender, his age, his user's photo, the password. All of these, like the user's photo, gives like some trust between each customers, the buyer and the seller. As for the products part, it's gonna be split into different categories, mostly technology like mobiles. Mobiles could be anything up to Huawei, Sony. All of these will be different variables, and all of them will have different prices. As for the laptops part, it could be anything also like HP, Dell, or Lenovo. All of these will be saved into string variables. As for the accessories part, it could be anything like cases or gadgets, and all of these will also be different variables. Now, this chart explains the number of variables that we'll be using on the course of the product or the program. These could be changeable also. Now, to finalize, we've got the transaction part, and this part might be a little bit complex. It just has different variables like the prices, the sum, the tax, the offer, the date, the place. All of these all of these variables are necessary for the transaction. For example, the tax, we'll be using it to add it for the sum of the prices based on what the user gets. As for the offer variable, this offer variable will be using the offer variable, for example, to decrease a certain amount from the total prices. Maybe it's the user's birthday, or his, or maybe the World Cup is going on, like a very important event, so the user will need that. As for the user interactions part, there will be the sign up, the products, and the transaction. We explained most of these in the variables part, but this goes into a little bit more of detail where the user enters his information. All of this information gets saved into binary text files, and so on. As for the products part, as we said, there will be a buying and selling option for all users. These products will be divided into a number of categories. The users can upload these files, and for each product, this needs 5 photos. Also, for the transaction part, when the users choose their product, they will receive general information about their package. So, for example, its weight, its price, its general estimated expiry date if the user is selling something that gets expired, and all that. This will be a thank you.